My dear people of Ambazonia, accept liberation greetings from me, Comrade John Akuro. Today, this day is Wednesday, and this Wednesday is May 31, 2023. This is the last day in the month of May. This has really been a memorable month in our liberation movement. And of course, as you can observe for yourselves, after a long struggle, the studio is back and it is back to stay. There are few improvements we'll be making here and there, but by and large, before long, you observe that, we are back to stability, and so we can resume actually talking our activities and seeing how to push our liberation struggle forward. So, my people of Ambazonia, this day I really want to, call on each and every one of us to continue to be strong, to continue to be responsible, and to continue to stay focused. There are a lot of things going on out there, so much talk, and sometimes the ambition of the enemy is to think that because of some of those inanities, we will get discouraged and will lose our sense of direction. But one thing I say, we must stay focused. This to me is a deja vu. And so I shall not delve into this altogether. Shinarambo has decided to do what he has done. Of course, all I want to do is tell our compatriots, to tell our brave hearts, and to tell our self-defense volunteers, especially those of you who are in contact with Rambo. Bear in mind that Shina Rambo has really not moved into the DDR. He's not moving to the DDR. He's simply switching camps. So therefore, for you to stay alive, for you to continue to participate in prosecuting this liberation movement, make sure you keep a wonderful distance between you and Shina Rambo. Those of you who had any form of telephone contact with him, do well to simply delete those contacts. Do well as well to simply change your telephone numbers. Do well as well to simply relocate in the places where you knew Shina Rambo was aware that you were. Let me say this struggle is like a relay, like a kind of relay race. When you run, get to a certain point, you get tired, simply pass the baton on to others. Those who decide to squeeze and spoil, to rather turn around and begin working with the enemy, are people whose faith in this liberation movement was initially not strong. So let us not allow ourselves to be in the drag that their move is intended to bring. Because generally, when the enemy does what they do, the ambition is simply to make sure they break our morale. I like us to go back to some of the messages that really marked this liberation movement at some point so that we know that those who came in thinking that they were coming in for a quick fix, that this thing within 3 months, 4 months, 5 months will be over, they'll become presidents, they'll become real generals, they'll become warlords, they'll become whatsoever, are discovering for themselves today that what we are involved in is independence, is liberating a people who have been in bondage for over 60 years. And therefore, it is no child's play. It takes determination, it takes courage, it takes focus, and it takes especially tenacity to continue in this liberation movement until we cross the finish line. That's why I cannot agree more with Honorable Weber Joseph when he says there is not going to be a quick fix. He said it before. He has repeated it over and over. Let's hear him out.
The homeland. There's no revolution in the diaspora. And the diaspora failed in that role because they assumed erroneously that there's a revolution going on out here. The revolution is in the homeland.
Exactly.
And what the diaspora is supposed to do would have been to come together to support the homeland to get what we all want. When people...
No one could say it better. All what we need to do is continue to do our level best to support our people on ground zero, to support the civilian population, to support the vulnerable people, to ensure that those who decided to carry arms as self-defense volunteers to defend our communities, to stand in between us and the perpetrators of all the evil on our land, that is the occupiers, that they at no point get, tempted to turn the same weapons they have in their hands against the people whom they profess to defend. This is a sacred duty we must continue to lead. We must continue to make sure that we build very strong relations between our brave hearts, that's the self-defense volunteers, and the civilian population, especially the most vulnerable one. I want to make just a quick jump into what happened in Babanke to say the degree of misinformation that surrounded it justifies exactly why those women were mobilized in the first place to march on the 19th of May of every other day. Don't forget that May 19 was meant to be a ghost town. And therefore, the regime barons that went ahead to manipulate these mothers, to come out into the streets that they were going to march naked, to curse their own very children, deliberately wanted to put them into harm's way so that they would turn around and tap political capital out of it all. Of course, we can see, we have seen even some who are men of God. I don't want to use the expression who call themselves, but who are men of God, come out and issue very shameful communiques, very shameful press releases, just demonstrating that they too appear to have been in the know of what was being cooked by La Republique du Cameroun and the objective it was intended to achieve. My people of Ambazonia, I had the occasion to talk to the moderator of the Presbyterian Church. Yes, I called him and I told him in no uncertain terms exactly what I felt about the wording of his press release. And I recalled to him that I never saw such wordings when our people, children, pregnant mothers, vulnerable people, handicapped, were bundled together, over 20 of them, and roasted to death in Gabon. I never saw such a very strongly worded communique. When 30 of our brave young boys were captured in Balinyunga, stripped naked and set on fire, I never saw such a strongly worded communique from that particular moderator. And again, I recalled to him and I sent him a video of one of our compatriots who was serially tortured, beaten to pulp by La Republique du Cameroun on video, by their soldiers on video. And at the end of it, one of them says, let's not really take life completely out of him because we are yet to even confirm that he is Amba. Just upon suspicion. The moderator of the Presbyterian Church, Reverend Samuel Funke, I shared this with him. I said that when you look at this is what they call barbarism. It has got nothing to do with what we saw with our brave hearts actually exchanges with mothers that they determined to bring them together to draw their attention to the fact that allowing themselves to be used in such circumstances was not correct. I equally decried that if any violence was used against them, if any of them were beaten and tortured, that was totally unacceptable, condemnable, and I think that should never happen. But these mothers never even spent a night with them. Even a night. But when you look at the communique from the Presbyterian Church, it speaks volumes. That's why I continue to urge us to understand that it is our sacred duty to remain committed to this liberation movement until we free our land. Nobody else will do it for us. Don't sit down and be saying God should send a Messiah from somewhere to come and do it for us. He has already sent you. He has already sent me. We are supposed to do the job. Just listen to Dr. Miles Monroe.
So the world cannot heal itself, but whatever you avoid, you can never change. So you must become the answer to your own prayer. Stop asking God to send someone to heal your country.
So therefore, let us not allow those who have vowed that they want to live in perpetual slavery, that they want to worship even the remains of Mr. Paul Biya when he is gone to confuse us. We must remain focused and glued to the objective we have professed to ourselves. If these statements by Ashunyenti really anger and frustrate you, then arise and do right.
We are made because we have Paul Biya at the helm of the statecraft. This president is our greatest marksman. He is our principal goal scorer. He has always taken us out of very difficult situations. First, because of his immense wisdom. Second, because of his aura and international clout. I tell you what, President Paul Biya is a blessing to this country. Cameroonians, we are lucky. We are made because we have Paul Biya at the helm of the.
So this is exactly what I'm talking about. The kind of things that should rebel you. The kind of things that should not even be the kind of expressions you shouldn't hear from the lips of someone who is seen on a daily basis. The kind of exactions, the kind of horrible policies, the kind of serious torture that this man, Paul Biya, is meting out onto our people. My dear people of Ambazonia, we have to stay focused. We have to continue to prosecute this liberation movement. We have to refuse to be distracted by people who came in not so convinced of exactly where they were going. Because whether they like it or not, we will attain our objective. And as you all know, the only way this liberation movement ends, the only day it stops, it is when we all find ourselves in Boya, shouting, free, free, free at last, we are free. My people of Ambazonia, yes, it is possible. To God be the glory.